what do you think, you as a referee that's been with us for a year, what do you think you want to do from here on out?
Definitely learn the game how it is. Like, ask if I have a doubt, or like I called something that I'm not sure about. Ask, because if you ask, like for example, I asked you, like, oh, what do you think of this play? I did this. You give me your honest opinion. Then I would, the next time that happens when I ref, I would figure out, okay, this is how I would manage it better, and yeah.
Surprisingly, you know, and I always said like nah, this is wrong, nah. But watch pro games. Surprisingly, you learn some, and you're just like, why did that? And as us refs, you're like, why did that ref call that? And we're like, why? And we even as us refs, you know, we say that. But I'm like, but as a player aspect, a lot of these players don't know. Like the latest one that everyone was talking about was Dortmund versus, was it Man City, where the goalie is about to kick the ball and the Dortmund player kicks his foot. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that wasn't a foul. That wasn't a foul," but it is a foul because of how his foot is going straight to his foot is not flat.
Kind of reminds me of Jared Borghetti. Remember in the World Cup where he kind of headers it when the goalie they called it a foul. It's like that's how you kind of
and at the same time it's knowing plays like that, like difficult plays like that.
It's all the situations, bro. I would ask during halftime. Yeah. Like, hey, if this happens, what would you do?
That's my favorite part, when the refs get together in halftime. Oh, yeah. Or I did this, or I did that, and then you guys are all in the group just kind of. I like seeing that because everybody's helping each other out.
You at a young age can, man. I wish. At one point, it was just like, you know, I mentioned it earlier. It was about having that money to, you know, go out with, you know, whatever girl, or like the next dance or whatever, but. Now, you know, 3-4 years ago, I finally decided to say, you know what, I want to take this to a higher level. What I've already learned. But it took me 10 years to think that. You're young. You have a year in.
Bro, I just recently started thinking about that.
Cherish
that. It was
that,
like right before COVID.
Cherish it.
Because we went to that tournament, and after that I was like, you know what, I like
you know,
I like
this. It's different, but again, then we bring it to where we started. Mm-hmm. We don't forget about our roots. That's where we bring it. And that's why he can agree. He keeps us. Because look, he has permitted us to say, you know what? Okay, you want to go travel to Vegas? Okay, but when I need you, you can get my back. But I'm saying like, because I told you. It's true. I told you. I've told you. I was like, hey, Rick, I can't help you out this weekend because I'm gonna go ref in Vegas. And it's like, hey, but hey. He'll be like, hey, finals are coming up. Hey, make sure you...
that's for sure.
And that's the thing. It's like...
That's a must, man.
And that's why Ricky has always been like, hey, Uli, I need you to come, you know, hey, I know you've been busy with work, because, you know, me having my actual job now, it's like, hey, but can you come help me? And I'll be the first one, because again, and I said this a year ago when we had a thing for all the refs. I said, never forget your roots. And that's one thing I've carried. You know, I know where I started, and if it wasn't for this league, I wouldn't have never refed. I would have never had the experiences that I had. A lot of me now when I ref, it's all about the experience. It's being fortunate to travel and go ref at these big events and big showcases and stuff like that. And you, man, carry it, dude. Carry it, dude. You're young, bro. You're 16 years old. Get affiliated with, and we can help you with all that. I've done that, and by the time you're 18, we'll get you into, you know, high school. But once you do your year with that, we'll get you to college, and by the time you're 21, we'll start looking into, and that's 5 years from now. Yeah. We start looking to make you a state ref, national ref, and bro, give your opportunity at 23, one day hopefully. You know, and that's potential. And I'll be honest. At one point, I wanted to be a pro referee, but it's hard. It takes dedication. It's dedication.
Exactly.
But like Ricky says, if you're gonna do that, always have a plan B. Go to school, do all that. And I've had a lot
School
of
is plan A.
Well, yeah, no. I'm saying like your plan A is obviously gonna be school, but hey, if this is what you're gonna do, dedicate yourself. You know, go to classes.
100%.
You know, reach out to even Ricky. Be like, hey, like, do you know? And Ricky has back end information from referees to other leagues and everything. So it's, you know, we got your back. If that's something that you see yourself maybe doing, you know,
And they need that.
look into it. It doesn't
Hey,
hurt
bro,
to
you're
try.
just starting, man. I remember like after like 2 years with you, I was maybe like 18 or whatever, and I started refereeing like evening games at different leagues, or like Friday or during the week games. And at the beginning, they're like, "Nah, you're too young, man. Like you're too young." And then I was like, "All right, just give me like 2 games. I can prove to you, bro." After that, I was 18 refereeing adults. These guys are like 30s, 40s. They're about to fight in the middle of the game, and I was in the middle of it. And it like going back to what they say, it's all about how you carry yourself and your character, and knowing that you never stop learning. Like you got to be able to take criticism, bro.
Oh, yeah.
They got to tell you, hey, you know what? Do this differently, or you know, focus on this a little more.
And you know what will also help you? Not taking things to heart either, or being sensitive about it, because I shouldn't be saying this, but Ricky, obviously in the league, you don't want to say bad words. You don't want parents to say bad words around kids, and that's something that Ricky has always implied to us. As soon as a parent, and him as the owner of this league, as soon as you know you see that, you know, parent goes out. But there's gonna be times where only you heard that, right? No one else heard it, and it's how you react.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I'll say something back to that person, but that's also your way of saying you're not gonna step over me. But make sure you don't say it in front of other people.
Yeah.
Say it to him on the side and be like, well, you're up too, you know. Because there's gonna be parents that are gonna, as a assistant referee.
I'm not hearing this.
As an assistant referee or anything, they're gonna tell you this because one day you're gonna ref adults, and you think these you're gonna give a yellow for every guy that says F this, F that. No, you learn from it because. But again, when it depends on where you're at.
The situation.
Everything depends on what you're reffing and what you're doing, because you have to have that cold mind and heart that don't be sensitive, because that's gonna make you a ref that every little thing, every little complaint gets to you, and you don't want that, because now you're gonna be the ref that nobody wants, and you know, you lose opportunities, you know. So always know, you know, the scenarios, the situations, you know. I mean, have you had any bad experience yet?
No, not yet.
We protect Medina around here.
Yeah, that's true. We do. Hey, that's one thing for sure. We protect the young kids, the young ones.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, cause man, you'd be surprised. But now, Mr. Rodrigo, what made you pick up the plate?
So I started reffing. Pretty much my uncle was reffing at the time, and I would go watch him ref. And first it was my little brother. He would go with my tío Tito. He would go with them on the weekends, and I was like, dude, we're gonna go hang out at the field for 3-4 hours in the sun. Like, nah, dude, I'm not down. And he would tell me, because he would hang out with your dad and watch the games. And if anybody knows Fitz Falcons, there's this huge tree. There's this huge tree. It gives like a ton of shade. And your dad would always hang under there. He'd have the canopy up. That was a little office on the field.
Yeah.
And I started going, and after like 2 or 3 weeks, your dad told me, he was like, hey, how come you don't ref? And I thought, I was like, nah, I'm too young. Like, you know, he's not going to let me ref. So I was like, nah, I don't know. And he's like, dude, you should try it. And I remember I came with you, like for like 2 weeks, your dad was like, oh, just shadow Ricky. He'll teach you a little bit here and there. And it was just like the little kid games, like the U4, U6. Yeah. And I liked it, but I was still nervous, dude. I was so nervous. And this is like a U4 game, man. This is like
those are the most intense, because you get all the parents.
They're all bolitas,
all
you know.
The parents there.
But realistically, there's not really fouls. There's just a bunch of. It's like a ball of kids just running around. Sometimes they chase the ball off the field and they're still running. And I was so nervous, bro. I was so scared. And Ricky was like, dude, like, it's just kids. Like, it's soccer. Like, if you mess up, you mess up.
Well, you're not wrong. Kids are the worst to ref, man.
But it's the worst to ref because the whole family's there. So you got 5 more, like, all the eyes are on you. But it's, I remember I was so nervous, bro. And then I remember Ricky was like, hey, this was Saturday. Like at the end of Saturday, he's like, "Hey, tomorrow you're on your own." I was like, "Oh, I didn't even want to do it. I didn't want to step on the cancha." I was like, "How am I gonna do it? Like myself, all that responsibility." But I stuck with it, and it, going back to what you said, like sometimes you feel like someone's gonna quit because it's too hard. And I thought of quitting. I'm not gonna lie, like that first month, man, I was like, "Oh, this is hard. This is a lot of pressure. The parents aren't gonna like me. I'm gonna get yelled at." And I was like 16, so I mean, you have a lot more confidence than when I started. Because when I started, I wasn't as vocal. I was very timid, very just calm. People would yell at me, and I would kind of just like freeze up a little bit. But with experience, I just picked up.
You get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to it. And I started reffing like in the spring, and by the time summer started, like maybe like 2 or 3 months later, I really started picking it up, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go ref this weekend." I got 2 games on Saturday, and it's like if I was doing Champions League or something, like getting like all uniformed up and everything.
Who's gonna play against each other?
Oh my
God!
I'd be like, and there were 6-year-olds, and you're like, "Damn, dude, I was stressed."
These two teams again.
When I do the scheduling for other referees, I don't like telling them who's gonna play against each other.
Because then we swap.
Then they swap, or I give the scheduling 1 or 2 days before. I don't want them to just be stressed out a day before. So it's just like, I'll just tell you the time.
He gives us time.
Yeah, he gives us time.
Yeah, because then, I can't make it. Or
except me.
Yeah.
I'm different. I would tell Ricky would be like, "Hey, 10 o'clock, I'll say, send me a picture." so I know who I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I remember by the time summer started, I just started picking it up, and it was like one of those things where I can't wait for the weekend, bro. Hey, I got 2 games today, let's go, So I was excited, bro. I was so happy. And during that time, your dad would watch my games because the U6 field was right there by
it was like right in front of the snack bar.
So your dad would watch me and he would critique me.
Yeah.
Your dad's like, "Hey, you're not running."
That's one thing he's good at.
Yeah.
He can see what you're doing right or wrong and stuff like that, and that's one thing I need to get better in because he's always on it.
Yeah,
he was always on it.
And I mean, it's a small field, but your dad's like, "Hey, you're not running enough. You got to pay a little more attention. They're little kids. You got to do this. You got to be more assertive. They don't know which way to throw the ball. So it was one of those things where like how we say, you got to take criticism and you got to roll with it, bro. And your dad, Esteban, Ramon, Marcelino was with us.
Another rep,
They would always tell me, "Hey, do this, do this." And I went from doing the U4 games to the U6 games. By the end of the summer, I was doing U8, U10. And I remember, because Ronaldo started around that time too. And Ronaldo would do the little kid games.
Ronaldo's his brother.
Yeah, Ronaldo's my little brother. He would do the U6, U8 games. But I kind of started picked up the energy, and I was like, "Hey, bro, U10, come on, let me get a chance."
Yeah.
And you would be like, "All right, I'll give you the last game on Sunday. Do that U10 game." And you would stay and watch.
Yeah.
You would stay and just watch me. And whatever, I would do it, and then it kind of just started U10. Oh, I want more. U12, I want more. U14, I want more.
Yeah.
I started asking you, "Hey, I want the hard games. I want the big games, Because it's one of those things, bro.
That's right.
It's a little rush.
Yeah. It's that adrenaline kick. It's the adrenaline.
When I ref.
Yeah.
I just, that's why, like I said, I respect the referee because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I would just kind of, everybody was, because like Hauli said, there's 22 people that you gotta be responsible for, and the ball's moving quick, and it's just a
you gotta see
second.
It's all aimless, man.
Yeah, and
now you're also paying attention to the people on the outside.
It wasn't for me, but I did do it to pretty much understand that aspect of it. That's why to me it's like the referees, that's literally the hardest job I've ever had, and anybody that referees, I don't care where, it's my respect, man.
I mean, we talk about his brother. My brother's a referee too.
Yeah.
Started at he's 20 now. Started when he was 13, 14.
Oh, yeah.
6, 7 years. So it's.
And once he was small,
He was tiny.
very skinny little kid.
But again, it's that trust that he has had in all of us. Because he gives us the opportunity and we take it. Whether it's being shy or where we're at, it's just here. I'm throwing you to the wolves, and
And it's crazy because I remember I say within a year, like your trust level really grew out. Like you were like,
Oh, yeah.
nah, I could trust Rob. And the one thing for playoffs, I would always ask you, hey, let me flags, let me be flags. And that's one thing that I
Well, they
took
would
very,
want
I
you too.
took a lot of pride on. Like,
Yeah.
if there's gonna be something I'm gonna be very good at, it's gonna be flags.
Yeah.
And like, I would always ask, hey, send me with Esteban, send me with
Yeah.
Ramon. I want to be flags for them because I want to show the
If I were to
character.
rank the refs, you would probably rank 1 or 2 on like the center refs requesting. Like they
Oh,
would
no.
always request you. Always, hey, Rodrigo, send me Rodrigo, send me.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I trusted you. It didn't matter how hard it was. I knew at the end of the day, you guys were gonna pull it off.
Dude, and I loved it. Those playoffs games where the whole sideline just packed, bro. You
These
have
are-
people yelling at
And
you.
these are 8-year-old games too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, those 8-year-old
Yeah.
Premier League games, like
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like it was
yeah.
the Manchester Derby. It was like those games were tense.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed from watching your podcast is that you have a lot of ex-soccer players that used to, so they understand. They
That's
go to
true.
watch, and I'm pretty sure they understand how those games.
One
are,
of
games
one of
are,
my co-hosts in my other podcast that I do, David, he played away at Scorpion and Quiroga. So,
Okay, cool.
so he knows you know who he is
Okay,
if
yeah,
you
okay.
were to meet
Good,
him. So
so-
he played at Orange U too.
Yeah, see, that's
So-
one thing that I like is, like how I was telling you before everything, we were trying to get stuff ready for this weekend, and that person that I reached out to, he played in Orange Youth Soccer League, so it's a good feeling when they tell you, oh, yeah, I used to
Well,
play as a
Kevin,
little kid.
I used to play against Kevin. Kevin
So-
Reyes.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to play Independiente
Yeah,
growing up.
yeah,
Oh, that's true.
So it's always good, and right now, like my generation, I'm 34 years old, are bringing their kids
Their
to
kids.
come. You know, it's like I get random text messages every now and then. Hey Ricky, you know, I got my 3-4-year-old, hooked me up with the team and whatnot, and it's crazy seeing that new generation of parents coming into the league.
Yeah.
And and then that's one thing is, like how you said with that question is 5 years from now is, I'm gonna see a lot more kids my age bringing their kids around that time, and that's why you gotta do good things right now, because it's gonna help you out in the future. And recommendations, because I think that's the number one thing,
Yeah.
besides the internet, word of mouth,
Yeah, that's
man. Word
true.
of mouth.
That's true.
important.
Yeah, that's why I try to wear my Orange Juice Soccer League sweater.
I know.
I know, right?
I need another one because
Another
my
sweater.
I mean,
mine
right?
got stolen by
Yeah,
somebody.
we got sweaters coming.
Yeah.
But I mean, you as the owner, right?
Okay.
And we can bring you reps, and I feel like we've done that a lot.
I
What would we bring, and what would be some advice you would give as an owner to
everybody?
people that are incoming, or even the ones that you already have?
Oh man, that's a tough
I
question.
mean, because I'll be honest,
Advice.
the amount of years I've been there, and the amount of years that you've been there, obviously, you've seen reps coming in and out.
I think my number one advice would be like any job, you know, is don't just show up to pick up a paycheck, you know? Like actually, you're getting paid to do a service, and that's what most of these coaches complain, is we're paying you, and I get it, that doesn't give them the right to like tell you off or whatnot. But when it comes to like the game perspective, don't just treat it like a paycheck and just go and finish and then get the hell out of there. I think that's my biggest, not my biggest pet peeve, but the coach's pet peeve is when a referee just goes, picks, you know, does whatever he needs to do, doesn't really call, doesn't run, doesn't do anything, and gets paid and then just leaves, and that's it. I think that's one thing where the coaches do notice that, and if you go over there like how you say, look good, you know, you do your job well, do everything, that's one thing that's gonna help you out, because remember, if a coach doesn't want you, I can't send you to that specific team, which
That's one
means
less
less
game,
games,
and then if they
less
got different
money.
age groups.
So it's like you can't treat it like a
Like a bit.
like
Treat it like know that it's a business,
yeah.
but also know that in order to be good at your business, you gotta be humble about your business.
Definitely, and I think that's one thing that I will to every single, not just Medina. It's like it just can't be just another paycheck, and it can't be just it's because at the end of the day, it's it's the league's like my baby, you know.
Yeah.
And when I see somebody that's just like whatever's about it, it's like okay, well I'll just cut games because that's how that's where it hurts you, like your pocket, you know, your money. Like how can I can probably be like okay, don't ref this weekend, and you'll be probably like okay, well whatever, I'll ref next week. But then if I just start cutting you games consistently, then you're just gonna be like oh man, I went from making $2 to 50 cents every week, and it adds up, you know. And that's when I get reps coming, hey, what did I do wrong? I'm like, well, you did this wrong, and I've told you, and I've talked to you about it. So I think that's my number one thing. Don't treat it as just a paycheck, you know. It's a job where you got more than 22 people looking after you, and if they see that you're just there for the money, they'll lose respect for you, and the first thing they're gonna come is talk to me and say, I don't want this referee anymore because he just comes for the money, doesn't run, doesn't do this. And at the end of the day, I've had a lot of referees go because I only give them one game, and honestly, if you go for one game, you just it's not even.
It's kind of like he said earlier, these teams have multiple
age groups.
You know,
you can't
so
do it, yeah,
so now you have divisions. Yeah. Now you can't ref this team in the 6. You can't ref them in the 8. You can't ref them in the 10, the 12s.
Yeah.
And
that's like 3 or 4 like games.
That's a lot of games.
Because at
you
the end of the
can't
day,
ref.
it's the same coach.
It's the same
that
coach
doesn't want you, and that's unfortunate because if it happened in one game, and I'll send you to ref their older age group. It has nothing to do with that game, but then unfortunately sometimes people hold grudges. And if I send, let's say, I'll give you an example. If I go like, well, Ricky, why can't you send them if it's a different game? You should support your referees and do whatever. If I do that, that coach is already going to go upset. So he's going to find any reason to attack you. You know, so that's why me as a business owner, you got to think ahead.
And yeah, you've done that to me, like in the middle of my schedule. Like, you know, I'm a little hard-headed sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. You know, especially like a little bit.
We've seen it. I mean, us at the field, we've seen it.
Sometimes you let it get to you when you shouldn't let it get to you. And you've told me like, hey, bro, you know what? I know you're supposed to do the first and second game. Take the second game off. You do the third game just to cool off.
Yeah.
Kind of just to remember too, like, hey, I'm here to do the service. Because one of the biggest things that hypes me up, I don't know if you tell this to the rest of your refs, but whenever you get a new team, sometimes you be like, hey, Rodrigo, like, I need you to do it like. By the book, everything you gotta represent the league, right? So they can come back.
It's the first impression is what counts a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and they go like, oh.
And I like to do like the first impression games because.
You gotta be different. It's like, and one thing that I've noticed is, let's say I get a new team to call me, and I'm speaking not just behalf of Orange Youth Soccer League. I'm speaking like behalf, like any business owner is. If you got a new client and whatever it is that you're doing, I like to ask, well, what didn't you like with your past employer or past this or that? That way, you write it down, and then you just kind of you talk to your reps or you talk to employees that you have. That way, that same mistake doesn't happen. And if they say they want certain things done that they didn't do over there, you got to make sure that that's done. And I'm not like, you know, prioritizing that team or whatever, but in order to keep them client, team or whatever, you gotta show them from the start like that this league is different or this whatever
and
it is.
It's simple things like, okay, uniform. The word uniform means one, and if everybody has white socks, you can't have red socks unless you're the goalie. But and it's little things like that. Hey, and I love it because whenever you get a new team,
hard though.
Whenever you get a new team and you send me there, I'm like, all right, you know, this is how it's gonna be. Uniform, shirts tucked in, little things, little things, shirts tucked in.
Presentation.
Presentation. That's all it is because I'm a reflection of your league.
Yeah.
So you know, if they expect this from me, they're gonna expect it from Medina. It's not like I can let them get away with one thing. You let them get away with another thing, because it all just trickles. And then by week 5, week 8, they're like, nah, he let me do this, he let me do this.
Eso no te quiero, that's why I don't want you, because
exactly. So I like doing the first impression games, because you gotta make your mark, you know? And it's little things, bro. The uniform, it's just
Yeah.
Little things like that go a long way.
Yeah, and it's
That's true.
yeah, definitely. And
100%.
like I said, you want to keep these teams. Like just because you're number one, like I said in the beginning, man.
You gotta keep that quality.
You gotta keep that quality, and you gotta keep on because people behind you want to be number one. So you can't like you gotta keep.
You
on
gotta
going.
bridge gap. You
Yeah,
gotta make the
you
gap
gotta keep
wider.
on going and just work hard every day and be humble.
Yeah.